choose to run for youth governor?
I chose to run for youth governor because ever since I joined the Model United Nations program in 6th grade, I felt super connected to everyone in the program, and I feel like this program has a lot of potential to make a really big difference, and I've been really involved in the past, and so now as a junior, I think this would be a great way and a great time for me to move up in the program and do something that can evoke even bigger change.
I decided to run for youth governor for two paramount reasons. The first being that I absolutely love this program. I've been a part of it for the past 2.5 years, and because of YNG, those years have been the most magical and most memorable years of my life. And secondly, I'm here running for youth governor because I know that this year our program can make something good out of our current circumstances. We have the opportunity to pass incredible legislation, and we have the opportunity to make our program bigger and better for the years to come.
Political division in our nation and state has only been deepening. Yet, simultaneously, issues which should be bipartisan and unite us as human beings have also been worsening, such as one of my main campaign causes, hunger. I want to be your next youth governor because I want to unite Californians on these issues and lead our state to be the first in the nation in addressing them with the bold new solutions that I believe, if we unite, we can create.
Youth in government is a central part of my life. It's the crossroads where all of my interests, from youth civic engagement to empowerment, and politics and policy intersect. Right here. I know this program, I love this program, and I genuinely want it to be as fulfilling as possible for every single one of us that partakes in it. I'm ready to pour my heart and soul into it. I honestly already have, so I want to continue that and serve as your next youth governor.
I decided to run for youth governor because I have a deep love for this program and a deep love for working with other delegates and talking to people about politics and YNG. And I have a new vision for what this program can look like. I have a lot of faith in how we can use this program to really engage in the world and challenge our world. And so what I want to do is I want to work with every one of you to make sure that the program embodies your vision. And I have my ideas, and I want to listen to your ideas and really work together.
If you can pass one law today, what would it be and why?
If I could pass one law today, it would be to improve the vaccine rollout of this country. What this means is that I would implement a bill that would increase the production of vaccines as well as improve the current process that is in place when it comes to giving out vaccines. So this would go to essential workers as well as the overall population to ensure that everyone in this country is healthy, vaccinated, and protected.
If I could create any law I wanted, I would love to reform our criminal justice and prison systems to be specifically centered around restorative justice and rehabilitation. In this light, we can deflate the amount of people who are actually entered and incarcerated in prison. We can eliminate the need for death row. And lastly, we'll be able to promote a strong, healthy society in which incarcerated peoples can grow beyond their role in prison.
If I could pass one law today, I would pass legislation requiring, under a hybrid model and of course with all social distancing, masking, and other CDC recommended policies enforced, the reopening of all California public schools, because doing so would fight the damage of missed learning opportunities many Californian children, especially those in underserved communities, are currently afflicted with, and I believe that should be a priority for our government.
It's irresponsible and dangerous that California continues to postpone bold and meaningful climate action. I would pass a Green New Deal immediately. It's imperative that we design and implement a definitive plan to hit net zero emissions and invest in green infrastructure and industry. Above all else, we must guarantee environmental justice for all of our residents and go about this transition to more sustainable ways of life in an equitable way.
As much as I'd like to focus on something like worker co-ops, which is something I'm really passionate about, I think we have to recognize the urgency of climate change, and that if we wait, every year we wait, the harder it is going to be to save the world, right? So I would pass on a national level. If I got to pass one bill, I'd pass the Green New Deal. I'd combine all the different ideas of the Green New Deal into one law and get that through, because we have to address this on a really large scale, and we have to do it right away.
How would you establish connections with your team and peers to improve YNG?
What I would do to establish connections with my peers in YNG as well as my team is to create an outreach program in which I visit delegations so that we can have an open discussion in which the delegations can voice what they want to be prioritized and what they believe is really important. In addition to that, to establish a connection with my team, I would host weekly Zoom meetings in which we could just bond and get to know each other better so that way we can work efficiently with one another.
If elected youth governor, there are a couple ways I love to establish connections between the delegates and program areas, etc. Firstly, I'm looking directly at communications and courts in order to get those programs really integrated into the YNG community so that we can have more communication between every program area. Secondly, I would also like YNG to be able to have communication with YNG programs across the country. And lastly, I would be sure to have a cabinet directly reflective of the makeup of YNG delegates.
As your youth governor, I would advocate, if deemed safe by experts and with all CDC protocols in place, for an in-person or hybrid model youth and government program next year. I would advocate for this course of action because I believe there is no better way to truly engage in program areas, form new friendships, and experience the totality of this great program than for it to take place in its original in-person form.
It's crucial that we're giving opportunities to all delegates for their voices to be heard, in addition to leaders seeking to listen. I plan to host town hall events where we can discuss the more formal happenings of the program, in addition to the legislation going through it, and generally my policy priorities. Outside of conference, I vow to keep my social media account active and be as transparent as possible, as well as increase the frequency of social activities.
You know, I'm not a particularly competitive person, and so what I want to do is I want to work with every one of you and all the other delegates who are running for youth governor to really focus on improving the program. And I think I'm really embodying that by running on a plank with Siona. You know, it's not something that's very common in this program, but I think that it's something that should be, where we recognize that we can work together and hit the ground running, ready to work with every single one of you. I want to come to your caucus meetings and your delegation meetings and work with you to make an impact on this program.
What concrete steps would you take to make YNG more accessible?
Concrete steps that I would take to make YNG more accessible would be to implement a program similar to the one that we had on the statewide level in past years. What this means is that I would implement a program in which delegates from across the region are asked to go out and fundraise and come up with a certain amount of money that would go into a program to make YNG more accessible and more financially accessible for other delegates.
Unfortunately, many individuals who'd love to join YNG simply can't because they don't have enough money to pay for it. YNG is extremely expensive. So why don't we just reduce the significant cost of YNG by $100 to a couple $100 in order to ease this financial burden? And this would be on top of the provided financial aid that YNG does offer certain delegates. As a result of this, we can even work towards perhaps getting YNG to be a free program for everybody. It should be. YNG is so special and people deserve to be part of it.
As your next youth governor, in order to improve accessibility for all to youth and government, I would advocate for more advertising and awareness to all current and prospective delegates of any financial aid programs YNG or local organizations in their area may offer specifically to address any challenges to access with technology, internet connection, or other necessary tools that current or prospective delegates may need, as YNG should have no financial boundaries.
In order to expand accessibility to YNG, we must break down the cost barrier. Let's start by reinstating the Future Leaders campaign. From there, leadership delegates and advisors alike can work together to brainstorm specific strategies to raise money. Next, we must rethink the way that we're doing outreach. My ultimate goal is for every student in the region to at least know of YNG. We can do this by partnering with local delegations and YMCAs to ensure that we're reaching out to all communities in our region.
I think that there's a lot we can do to make this program more accessible. To make it more accessible for people of color, I believe we should have anti-racist trainings for white delegates and create more safe spaces for delegates of color. To make the program more financially accessible, I think that we should institute some kind of pay-what-you-can sliding scale system. But I think what's most important is that the program engages every one of you on how we can make the program accessible for you. Because I think that's fundamentally what accessibility has to be. How can the users of our program have access to it?
What kind of impact do you hope to make on the program?
The kind of impact that I want to make on this program would be a lasting one, and it would be one in which the delegates feel as if their voices, their priorities, and their passions are being reflected at a regional level. As youth governor, I would promise to ensure that I go to every single delegation and speak with as many delegates as I can to make sure that what I am doing is reflective of what they want to be doing, because the program, after all, is their program.
I'm going to be honest, we're in a really precarious place this year. With everything being online, with a whole new program area agenda, everything's a little different. But the impact I want to make most importantly is to bring fun and magic back into the program. Right now, because it's so hard to be online, more than ever, we need to be in touch with each other and we need something fun. So for example, in my platform, I'm hoping to create a YNG prom, and I'm really hoping that we can reunite both Northern California and Southern California. Together, I think we can do this, and that's the impact I'm hoping to make.
If given the distinct honor to serve as your next youth governor, I hope to make a lasting impact on our program by unifying all of our delegates from all parts of the political spectrum, all program areas, and all delegations to stand together in a time of such unprecedented struggle as one organization with one powerful goal: to leave the world better than we found it in all respects and to never give up in this pursuit.
I want to have an impact on the culture with YNG. So when you go to conferences or your delegation meetings, you feel loved and supported, on top of the world even, and like it's truly worth your time. Second, I want to link YNG into our communities. So this isn't just a program that's influencing your life 5 months out of the year or 4 years out of your life, but that you're learning all of the skills you need to be a civically engaged youth, leader, adult.
I have a lot of personal ideas about how we could change the program, make it more radical, or take on bigger systems. But I think what's most important and what every delegate wants is to have their voice heard. For groups of delegates to be able to have ideas and then see them embodied in the program. And that's really what I want to focus on. Working with the caucuses and other people running for office and every delegate, regardless of your position, to how you can feel like your voices and your ideas are really seen. And I think that's what's most important.
Why bother?
So why bother? Why bother running for youth governor? Well, to me, the position of youth governor is one that holds a lot of power. And I believe that what you do with that power is particularly important. So in past youth governors, I have felt as if my voice had not been heard, and I felt as if my voice and what I wanted to see get done was not being reflected at a state level. So what I promise to do as youth governor is to ensure that no one else feels like this, and no one else feels like what they are doing isn't going to make a difference.
In order to answer the question, why bother, I have to ask another question. Why not bother? Right now, though we're all facing very different obstacles, our circumstances are predominantly the same. We have an opportunity at hand, an opportunity to prepare for the future, an opportunity to not only pass life-changing legislation in our state, but also look within our own program, make it more inclusive, more accessible. We have this chance. So let's bother, because why not?
Why bother? Why wouldn't anyone bother? In a world where progress is the cornerstone of our democracy, one in which we are constantly pursuing equality for all and a more perfect union, I cannot imagine why someone wouldn't want to bother. And I promise you that if you should choose to elect me as your next youth governor, there will be no question that I will bother.
We're told to advocate for the issues we care about, so here I am doing just that. I want to actually resolve the public policy challenges we face and cultivate meaningful change. I want to bring YNG into our communities and day-to-day lives and be back in SAC my senior year. This race is not a bother, but rather a natural step I had to take. We have to act. YNG, now is our time.
I have a lot of answers that I think personally would be absolutely hilarious. But my serious answer would be that we have a unique opportunity and a privilege to advocate for issues we care about. And I think that we have an obligation that comes with that ability to really be advocates and to push for social change, because it's desperately needed. And there's people across the state and the country and the world who just don't have this ability to advocate for issues they care about.